What if we're living in a dream world? When it comes to understanding who we are and what exactly we're doing here on Earth, there are two main avenues of thought, both of them with many theories or possible branches attached to them, and they both link to the mystery of consciousness. So the first avenue we're going to talk about, you all know well, as it's the one that's taught in schools. And it also forms the foundation of thought for many scientists. And it's actually put forward essentially as an incontrovertible fact, which it is not. And at the moment, it's an accepted assumption, let's say. Now, this side of the debate amounts to the idea that consciousness is something that comes out of matter, that it's a product of physical processes happening within our brains. And this is why neuroscientists are always looking for the physical seat of consciousness actually within our brain, which they haven't found. Now, there is another side to this debate that surprisingly to some carries just as much weight philosophically and scientifically, even though it's not given an equal footing generally in our society. And this idea goes a little bit like this. Consciousness does not in fact come out of matter. Instead, matter comes out of consciousness. That everything that exists in the world around us is a product of consciousness itself. And it might surprise you to know that there's not an experiment in the world that we know of anyway that can prove one of these ideas over the other. So why are we so worried about this anyway? And what difference does this make to our lives? Well, if you accept the first one, which is true for the majority of people in the world, then everything in life is just pure chance. There's no real purpose to anything, and the only reason we're here is due to some incalculable, mind-bogglingly unlikely chance. And in effect, we're just blowing in the wind. So of course you are welcome to take this one. But what if the other option is true? Excuse me. Then all of a sudden, life gets really interesting. A million amazing possibilities arise within this one. Like, for example, the possibility that we co-create our own reality. That our ideas and thoughts, our feelings and our beliefs directly affect our bodies and our relationships and our lives in general. Or the possibility that everything is conscious to some extent, and also connected to everything else. And this would mean that no one person or thing is more or less important than anyone or anything else, for example. So coming back to the idea that we might be the co-creators of our lives, I was watching a documentary recently, and it was following the lives of some young gang members in certain parts of the world. And of course, on one hand, within the context of this conversation, this would seem like an incredibly strange life for someone to actually create for themselves. But if you factor in pressure from friends and your local environment, and then if we add in a little bit of glamour from movies and music, and if we also add in, of course, money, and on top of that, we consider that they might be experiencing a lack of perceived personal power and personal value, then we can begin to see how living in a movie, such as being in a gang, does have its supporting actors. Now, if we pan out a bit here and look at what would be described as a normal life, do well at school, get a job, have a family, buy a house, and of course save for a pension. Essentially, to conform. This here then too is a creative life, just like the previous one we just spoke about. It's essentially a dream. It might be a great dream for some, and it might be a terrible dream for others. It just depends who you are. And this is why us understanding whether consciousness actually does create the physical world is so important. Because if we are actually creating our own lives, then they should be our lives, not something that's been given to us by other people. If we are creating our lives and that we're always taught that the exact opposite isn't true, then we're massively, massively underestimating our own power. You could say, if you wanted to, that we're being educated away from our own power. This means that instead of going inside of ourselves to bring balance internally so that we can really feel clearly what is authentic and right for us personally, and therefore create a life that is also right for us personally, instead of that, we're constantly told to and do look outside of ourselves to bring change about. And we do this to try and change our health, our lives, and our relationships, as well as, of course, the world around us. It has massive implications in regard to every aspect of our lives and what, of course, we think is possible. Recently, we had some local elections here where I live, and it always surprises me just how much emphasis certain people place upon it and how upset and irate people become in regard to it. When we follow the actual power structures of the world, we quickly come to understand that power is not held politically, especially locally, but otherwise is true as well. We presently live in an economically controlled world. And again, this is a dream that certain people like to take part in. The idea that politics in its present form will change the world. And, it's not a bad dream. They are most of the time the people who have this dream, they're trying to create a better world. But if we can create our own reality, as we're talking about here, then politics, local or otherwise, is probably not the best place for us to begin. If this is the case, then the best place to begin with would be, of course, you, me, us. You see, if the world really is the product of our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs, then we should be thinking about what pictures we are painting. So be honest with yourself. What thoughts are you thinking as you go through your day? All of the thoughts, not just the good ones. What feelings are you feeling? What beliefs do you hold? Really include all of them. What would need to change here for you to create a life, or to continue the analogy, a picture that was both perfect for you and perfect for the world around you? What beliefs that you presently hold would need to shift and change? What past events would you need to forgive and heal, for example? Who would you like to create new things with? Where in the world would you be doing it? And what would you be doing? These are fun thoughts to have. So, what is my experience of all this personally? And why am I talking about it with you? So for 15 years now, I've been working with the energetic parts of ourself, the aspects of self. And as a biodynamic cranial osteopath, it has become so clear to me that the energetic aspects of self are indeed the primary conductors of the physical world, not the other way round. That we are energetic people in an energetic world with no concept of energy. And that within that, there is other landscapes. So within the landscape of this energetic world, there's laws and processes like at any other level. And everything will always head towards balance and order here if we allow it to. The study of somatics, for example, has showed us that indeed there are energetic organisational fields around every physical aspect of the world. And they can in fact identify a cancerous cell relative to a healthy cell in this way. I'm not sure I'm allowed to put this up, but look it up for yourself. But my work has shown me that these energetic organisational fields are also intelligent, and they're intelligent on a scale way beyond the intellect, and that they're connected to everything else around them. And also, they're constantly responding to every event we ever encounter in our lives, including any thoughts, any feelings, emotions, and beliefs that we may have. We might find that they are conscious. As a profession, we're not the only ones that have found this out. Many other ways of working have found out that the organisational fields of the body hold lots of the unresolved aspects of life, however small or big that may be, and also for however long they happen to have been there. We find that we can clearly identify whether we're living and acting from a place of personal authenticity within this landscape. Because if we're not, it will create observable compensations and energetic imbalances as we're behaving in this way. Essentially, at this level, if we're able to learn and listen and feel correctly, there's a constant feedback loop available to us that is gently able to direct us back towards ourselves and towards authentic action, which is the basis of health. I'll say that again. Being our authentic selves and acting from authenticity is the basis of being healthy. So all of this has proven to me that consciousness affects energy, which in turn affects our physical world, our bodies as I work on it, and our minds. We're basically following on behind, and that we're able to learn to experience both ourselves and the world around us within this energetic conscious landscape, so that we can then, from moment to moment, choose to bring ourselves back towards ourselves, back towards health, back towards authentic assured action. And we could use the analogy of music here to hopefully more clearly demonstrate the idea of living authentically. To be authentic is to live in flow, a flow state. If we're living in flow, we're living in a way where life energetically is moving through us. And we're living from one moment to another as a representation of this flow, this energy. And of course, it's always changing and it's always moving. So if we use the analogy of music to represent this flow, then when we're in balance and operating authentically, then we're putting music out into the world that is clear and undistorted. It's a unique melody that is absolute perfect reflection of this movement as it moves through us. It's always going to be in harmony, and it will also always change, becoming more complex or more simple depending on what's happening around us. But it's always going to stay in tune, and if undistorted, it will remain harmonious. If we're operating not in flow, from thinking, emotional fear, then the sound we're going to be putting out is going to be disharmonious. Ding, dong, 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 dong. You get the impression. So to be ourselves in life is to be representative of our own song. And only then, when you're open to allowing this song to move out into the world unhindered, will you be able to create a life that is right for you. Only then will you be attracting the right people, situations and experiences. Once we allow for the possibility that consciousness creates the physical world, then we begin to understand the true power of our imaginations and of creativity itself. And, of course, of being our authentic selves. The possibilities are vast, they're amazing. And this is the reason I do the work I do and why I've written the course, The Art of Living Authentically. It's why I work with people every day, one-to-one, who want to bring this change about in themselves, who want to change their world, and with that, the world around them. We are the world is us. And of course, if you want to accept the other model of consciousness and take the other avenue that's available, then please, that's also fine with me as well.